Welcome to the course C# and .NET Programming. In this video, we are going to see how to integrate Windows Form application along with classes and objects and exception handling mechanism. To start with the demo environment, I am going to use is the Visual Studio. So now it get loaded. We just create a new project. So once you create a new project, you select the Windows Form application. Click next. I'm going to give the name is Windows Exception and I'm going to just create. It will take some time to load the project. So once the project get loaded, we have the form design. So there you design whatever inputs you need. As in the console, you create a text box in the form design and get the input. And like the menu driven we create in the console application, here we have the buttons to perform each and every operations in the menu driven. So just go to the toolbox. Now I am going to create a banking application. So I am going to create an account, deposit an amount, withdraw an amount and checking the balance of the account. So to start with, I am going to have a label. So this label in the text, I am going to change the label of the text, customer number, and then followed by, I am going to have the customer name, and I just change here, customer name. Then I will give the initial amount to start the or to create the account, initial amount. Then followed by, I want to view the balance. So I have another one label which I am going to display the balance. Then I am going to have the amount to be withdraw. So I am going to have the withdraw amount. And then followed by, I am going to have the amount to be deposited. So for that I am going to have a label called as deposit amount. So I want to view the balance. So the balance has to display in some label. So I make a label 7 which I am going to keep as empty. And once it is done, next I want to get the input. So whichever inputs I need, I am going to create in a text box. So I design a text box for getting the customer number and then followed by name of the customer, followed by the initial amount and the withdraw amount and the deposit amount. Then I need to have the button click. So I'm going to have a button for creating an account. So I'm just put create and followed by I'm going to have a button to withdraw. So the next button is the withdraw button and then I'm going to have the button for deposit. So this also I'm going to create it and I have a button. During the button click, I want to display how much balance available in my account. So this is my design as per the general console application, the input getting and also your menu driven options like a button click. Now we want to write a action events. So when I create the button or when I click the create button, the account has to be created. So here the details of the customer I am going to maintain in classes and object concept. So when the button is clicked, a customer object get created, the inputs we get through the text box and it should be initialized through the constructor. So to work with that, what I am going to do is, I go to my program.cs file and inside the namespace, okay, because the main program only starts your application to be run from the form 1. So inside the same namespace, we are going to create a customer class. So customer, then I'm going to have 3 inputs. One is my name, that is the first input is the account number and the second input is name of the customer, and third input is balance. And these all I am going to initialize through the constructor. So I have created a constructor with 3 inputs. First one is the integer, second one is the string, and the third one is the integer. So now I am going to initialize all these. So these 3 inputs I am getting through my text box that I pass it here. So I will use with the number should be initialized, name should be initialized, and the balance will be initialized. So once it is done, your customer object get created. So now this need to be used inside my form.cs. So I am going to create a customer class. So when you create a customer class which is common inside the class. Then only it will be used inside the withdraw option, deposit option, balance checking, and the account creation. So I'm going to make my customer object to be common. So customer C. So since all will be available inside the same namespace, when I create the class name itself, it will be recognized. And now I am going to get the inputs from the user. So I am going to get the number first. That will be available in my first text box. As you know, all the text box values are defaultly string. So it need to be parts. So I am passing the first text box. Next I am going to get the name. So the name will be directly taken from the text box 2. And the next input is balance. So that should be taken from the text box 3. So text box 3. So once every inputs are ready, now I am going to initialize the constructor, new customer, passing all the values, number, name, and the balance. Now the object get created. So I am going to display a message box information. So message box dot show customer created. So now we will execute and check. We start the form application. The form application, load the design. There I am going to enter the customer ID, customer name, and the balance amount. When I click create, the customer object get created. So now I want to check the balance, what is available in my customer account. So go to the form design, click the balance button. You get the corresponding click. You know that label 7 I have allotted to store the balance. So the balance will be available in the customer object c.bal. So since it is not visible outside because we have made these variables as a private. So I'm going to make it as public. So public, or the better option is I'm going to add a function. So public void display. So I want to return, okay, return the balance. So you make it as the return type is integer, and here we will just return the balance. So this value will be automatically come there. So we go to here. So now the balance amount will be returned from the display method. So I will call the display method. So the display method basically return an integer. So I will store it. And now I am going to display this balance inside a label 7. I am going to create label 7.text. And now this is an integer I want to convert to a string to display in the label. So I am trying to convert it. So now we just start our code and we will enter our input 101. John, balance is 2000. Create, object get created. After that I am going to check the balance. Click the balance, you got the balance amount. Similarly, you write the options for the button click, withdraw and deposit. So how will you do the withdraw? We want to get the input from the text box 4. So I am going to get the amount from the text box 4. So text box 4, I'm going to get the value. So again, it should be an integer. So int dot parse text box 4 dot text. So this value I need to pass to the withdraw function. So that I have to write it inside my customer class. So what I have to do, I have to write a method called as withdraw method. There I have to pass the amount so that whatever my balance is there, from that the amount get reduced. Similarly, I will write the option for the deposit. So deposit also I will pass it through the text box. The amount will come here and then that will be balance adding with the amount. So two functionalities are returned. These two functionalities I have to call in my button click. So this is for withdraw option. So I will go here and I will call c dot withdraw. I will pass the amount. Similarly, I will write the functionality for the deposit. I get the amount from the int dot parse text box 5 dot text, and once it is get, I will call the deposit function and pass the amount. So now you have an idea that how you can integrate your web application along with a class as an object, what you basically do in your console application. So now I will go to the start button. I will execute it. 101. Customer name is John. Initial amount I will give 2000. Create. Yes. Check the balance. Yes. I'm going to deposit some amount 2000. Deposit. You want to give the message box, you add the message boxes. Now I want to check the balance. So now it is 4000. I'm going to withdraw 500 rupees. So withdraw, I'm checking the balance. It is 3500. Now along with this basic class as an object, you want to integrate exception handling mechanism. So basically whenever the account get created, you want to know the initial amount not go less than 1000. And also the customer name should not contain any numerical values. So these two exceptions we want to handle it. So same thing, go to program.cs. Inside the same namespace, you have to add the exception user defined classes. The first exception class is balance exception. That is initial balance. I want to check it. So I am going to put it balance exception. So which need to be inherited from the exception. Then I am going to add a constructor public balance exception which take a string message, and that I am going to pass it to my base class. This is over. So like that I am going to create a next exception which is a name format exception. So name format exception which is inherited from exception class, and then create a constructor name format exception, takes one argument, then base message. And these two exceptions, now I am going to handle it in my code. So you know that the text box 2 having the name and text box 3 having the initial amount. So as you know, you want to handle the exception handling. All the content need to be right inside the try and catch. So what I am going to do is I will create a try block and I am going to add the catch block. So inside the try block, first I have to check the balance will not be less than 1000. So if it is less than 1000, then what I have to do? I have to throw new balance exception. So I'm going to tell balance not or minimum balances So if you are giving any amount less than 1000, this exception has to be thrown. So the corresponding catch block is, you know that it is a balance exception. So don't use E here because already you have one object as E here. So make it some other object E1. Then here whatever message you have thrown, you get it in the message box and then just show it. Message box dot show. Okay, that error message you just print it here. Now you want to check. So again here it is E1 dot message. Okay, because it's an object, but show will be showing only the message string. So take only the message property from the E1 object. So now we have to check the next condition. The name should not contain an integer. So I'm going to put a else if, and if the condition, I want to check whether the name having any integer. So for that you have a function called as int.tryParse. In that first you have to pass the variable, followed by we have to use the out variable. So if it is that, I have to throw an exception, throw new name format exception. Name have only alphabets. So I write some message that to be thrown. So I should have the equivalent catch for it. So I just copy and put a catch. Okay. And this catch I am having the name format exception. If nothing happens, it is everything is correct. So I have to create the object and display the message box. Now you check how the exception handling is work along with the Windows Form application. So I started my application 101. I'm going to write my customer number is 123. I'm giving my initial amount is 5000. So create name have only alphabets. So I give correctly the name, but here initial amount I am giving 500. Then click again create. The minimum balance should be 1000. If I give 5000, no problem, I can directly create it. Okay. So similarly, I want to withdraw an amount. So I go to here. I need to create an exception called as class withdraw exception, which should be inherited from the exception, and public withdraw exception, where I pass one string message that is passed to my base class. These are the standard syntax for creating the user-defined exception. So now created, go to the button click where we are doing the withdraw. Okay. So the withdraw will be done here. So once I get the amount, I need to check if the amount whatever you are withdrawing should be less than the balance. So how will you know the amount of balance? That I want to get from the display method. So I will take the balance c.display. You can make it the variable also public and get the variable directly here. Okay, so you can use any logics. And now I am going to check if the amount is less than balance, then there is no problem. I can withdraw it. Else. Okay, so else I need to throw the exception. So what you have to do? The code should be enclosed inside the try block. Okay, so if the amount is less than the balance, no problem, withdraw will happen. Else, then you have to throw the exception. So throw new, the exception we have created is the withdraw exception. Okay, so amount exceed balance. I throw some error message. Then I have the corresponding catch block, which will catch the withdraw exception, create an variable, and then put message box dot show. So where I will show the corresponding error message. Okay. So I have to give the message. Okay. Sorry. So you just pass the message. So now save it. So now we integrated the basic of banking application with customer creation and maintaining the balance amount, then withdraw, deposit, and along with that we have integrated the exception handling mechanism also. Okay, so every classes you create, handle it in the program.cs, create the separate classes, functionalities, everything you keep it there in the program.cs. In our form.cs, you try to create the object. So the object need to be common in all the functionalities. So you make this object creation, that is only the object reference that create outside of all methods. That is within the class immediately you create. This will make that object to be common for all the methods available inside the class. And then for every button click, you get the input from the corresponding text boxes and check for the condition, and based on the condition you handle the exception. And now I will again execute my code. So I am going to give the customer and the name of the customer. Initial amount is 3000. Create, it get created, balance is 3000. I am trying to withdraw 5000. So I am getting an error, amount exceed balance. So there is a spelling mistake. So you can put amount exceed balance. Okay. So now go once again, execute it. 101. John 3000. Create, display the balance. Now withdraw amount 5000. Withdraw amount exceed. If you give any amount less than that, withdrawal success, balance will be there. I hope you have an idea how to integrate any application in our C# development that can be integrated along with Windows Form application in terms of classes and object, and along with you can handle exception handling, operator overloading, delegates. That mechanisms also you can integrate it with the Windows Form application. Thank you.